I hope you're all comfortable and sitting back and relaxing. We're very pleased to have you here this morning at our University Taster Day, where we'll be running sessions on all the courses we have to offer at Croydon University Centre. So I'll start off by giving you a short presentation on what we have at Croydon University Centre and who we are. So good morning and welcome, sit back and enjoy. There'll be plenty of opportunities for you guys to ask questions towards the end of the sessions. Please also use the Q&A functionality on your Zoom. You'll see it says Q&A where you can ask a question should you have any questions for us. So I'm Mimi, I'm the Head of Higher Education here at Croydon University Centre, and I'll be here all morning to kind of ask questions and answer questions should you need to ask me any questions as well. So I'm just going to give you a little overview of who we are and what we do at Croydon University Centre. So I'm basically highlighting here the 5 top reasons why students choose Croydon University Centre to come and do their higher education or their undergraduate degree programme with us. So accessibility, we're very accessible, we're easy to get to, we're in the heart of Croydon, we're a 5-minute stroll from the East Croydon Trail and Railway services. As a higher education student, you'll get 30% off Transport for London fares, so do have a look at that. We offer a wide variety of choices in terms of different courses. You can do a full 3-year degree course, you can also do a 1-year H&C course, we also offer part-time courses. And then we offer some of the lowest tuition fees for university degree courses in and around London, which is just fantastic. And we were able to freeze our undergraduate course fees this year from September 2021. But not just that, we offer top quality courses that are validated and quality assured by external agencies such as Roehampton University, Pearson's and City and Guilds. So when you graduate, you will actually get an award from one of London's top 10 universities. Then lastly, but not least, we offer a wraparound student support programme to all our students. Our teaching environment is supportive and inclusive, offering you fantastic student experience. So that's just the top 5 things that you can look forward to at Croydon University Centre. And then I just want to highlight, briefly touch on our teaching and learning that we offer at Croydon University Centre. Our academics are subject experts and many of them have years of industry experience which benefits you directly on the course. You can expect to have your course delivered through a mix of learning environments on campus and online. We're very much looking forward to welcoming students back on campus from September, but we will be continuing to have some sort of online element, and whether that is perhaps half a morning a week or more, but there will be an online element to your learning as well as an on-campus element. Then personal tutors. We have a personal tutoring scheme whereby you are assigned a personal tutor at the start of your course to track your academic progress, and you'll have various touch points throughout the year where you can meet up with your personal academic tutor to set up action plans for you and devise targets for you to stay on track and up to date with your assignments. You'll also have access to our student support services who gives advice and guidance on well-being and financial matters. And if you have a learning difficulty, disability or ongoing health condition, don't worry, we have a dedicated additional learning support team who will be able to set up a reasonable adjustment plan for you. And depending on your unique circumstances, you may be able to get extra time in exams or extensions to deadlines. So it's really worth having a chat to our additional learning support team and to see what they can offer you. Then student life. I just really wanted to kind of tell you what we have as on offer at the Croydon University Centre. Sorry, I'm mumbling here a bit this morning. So our University Centre is located on the 3rd floor of our main campus building, with dedicated classrooms, PC labs, quiet study spaces and lecture theatres for all our University Centre students. You'll have 24/7 access to our virtual learning environment, and you'll also have access to our online library. Our Learning Resource Centre is really quite spectacular. It's spread over 3 floors with subject librarians available on each floor to help you with your research projects and just to find resources. The 3rd floor of our Learning Resource Centre is reserved for University Centre students where you can study quietly. It's more of a quiet space. The library is also open later for University Centre students on a Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursdays. So you can finish your classes and then still have time to spend in the library. Then it's not just all learning. There's a dedicated HE common room, which is open to all our students. It has a kitchenette where you can warm up your lunch or have a cup of tea. There's also soft seating, and this is just a great place where you can meet up with your fellow students and relax in. Eating, drinking and socialising. The college and the university centre has a dedicated on-site cafe called the Urban Deli, where you can sit down or you can get some takeaways. It serves a great different variety of foods, from pizza to vegan curries, and fantastic coffee, which you can get there as well. And then, of course, we're conveniently located close to a whole row of coffee shops, cafes, supermarkets, and of course, Box Park for your after-class socialisation. So I know you're all here this morning to hear more about the Early Childhood Studies course, but just there on your screen is some other courses that we run as well. So if you're not quite sure what you want to study, we offer a range of degree courses as well as higher national certificates, which range from 1 year full-time to 2 years part-time. Student services. There's some drop-in sessions later this afternoon if you want to find out more about our student services and our student support and what they're able to offer you. Do come to those. There's some this afternoon at 2 o'clock. There's also a student services drop-in session tomorrow. And the finance team will be there also for you. If any of you have any questions to ask a member of the finance team, they'll be able to give you some help and advice on student loan applications, as well as if you're a self-funding student, how to set up a payment plan or instalments with them. Then on your screen now is just how to apply. So some of you may have already applied. Some of you may be thinking about applying. For me, the key is always to find the right course for you. And how do you do that? By knowing what your end goal is. You know, if you know you want to become an early childhood practitioner, then yes, this is the right course for you. How do you apply? You know, come and talk to the admissions team, ask as many questions from the program leader. We've also got here today one of our final year students who've gone through the whole journey with us. Now, if you've already got an offer from us, please remember to firm your offer by the 10th of June. Otherwise, it'll be rejected by UCAS. Those of you who haven't applied yet, please do get in touch with our admissions team should you want some advice and guidance on that. So from me, in a nutshell, that is just very quickly how what we have on offer at Croydon University Centre. We very much look forward to meeting you all in September. What I'm going to do now is, if there are no questions, is hand over to our lovely programme leader, Lisa Fitches, who are doing a bit of a course overview with us this morning. And then you can also ask some questions to our student who's here today. So good morning, Lisa.
So I thought that I'd start off first of all by welcoming you to the BA Honours Early Childhood Studies course. So thank you for attending today. A very brief course overview. So this is going to be a little bit more course specific than what Mimi was discussing. So the BA Honours in Early Childhood Studies, it's a duration of 3 years and it's classed as a full-time study programme. From September 2021, the course will be validated by the University of Roehampton. So just to reiterate what Mimi was saying is, when you're studying with us, once you actually graduate, you will receive a University of Roehampton certificate. Like I said, it is a full-time study course, but however, you are expected to attend either online or on campus over 2 days, and these days will be Mondays and Wednesdays. The sessions start around 9:45 and end around about 5 to 5:30. It all depends on your individual timetables. As Mimi did say, there is a possibility of a blended approach, but we will, once we've got this confirmed, we will be able then to give you a bit more information. So the criteria for applying for the course is that students should have a full level 3 in a related topic. If you haven't got a full level 3, we will explore the avenue of more sort of relevant experience. So don't panic if you feel I haven't got a level 3. We can offset experience as long as it sits somewhere in an early years sector or in a primary school, i.e. up to probably, I'd say, reception, maybe year 1. And students and applicants are expected to have a level 2 in both maths and English. Now, for our course, because it's very vocational based, there is a need to have a work placement. Again, don't worry if you don't have that at the moment. That is something that we can support you with for September. However, because of a lot of our assessment methods are things such as portfolios, etc., you do need to be able to have a work placement. So this is Croydon College. So like Mimi said, we have got a floor dedicated just to university students. We've got a wonderful library resource centre, and they're excellent. Our subject librarian for early childhood studies is absolutely fantastic. So the course has been designed as an opportunity to study early childhood, but in a very broad or multidisciplinary sense. So, for example, many of our students come from very, very different professional backgrounds. Some of them may work in nurseries already or preschools. I've got some students who have been working in primary school. So, for example, we have had some students who worked with year 3 age group children, but then they come down to reception for their work placement, and they was able to develop their skills of observation and professional reflections that way. The programme offers fantastic career development opportunities for students who do not already hold a recognised practice qualification. However, you'll be working in the field. An important part of the learning takes place through the workplace experience. So the course has been designed to complement your workplace. So what you will be learning within the university, you will be able to put that into practice in the actual setting. And you will have those moments when you're observing children and you think, I learned about this. This is what they're doing, and this is why they are doing that. So all students joining the programme should therefore be prepared to undertake paid or voluntary work in early years for the duration of the studies. So some of my students, they have actually, they work in completely different jobs. They're not early years related. I've got some that work in hospitals, some that work in supermarkets. They continue with their paid jobs, but they do have to do a voluntary couple of hours each week in order to meet their work placement criteria. So again, that's something, we've got a wonderful team who work alongside the World of Work, who work very closely alongside us, and they will also support you, not only in securing a placement, but also in recording that as well. The programme provides a holistic perspective and development about learning and development in young children, and through the review of integrated cross-disciplinary studies and the development of generic and specific professional skills and critical examination of pedagogical approaches and the development of leadership in early years professionals. Now, once our students have completed our course, many of them go on to undertake different forms of teaching. So some of them want to gain a PGCE. I've got quite a few students at the moment who would actually like to get into more adult-based teaching, and I've got one student who is going to speak to you about how she would like to do that as well, hopefully. So this particular course, it can lead to many different paths. Now, many of the students also go on to secure managerial positions in private, voluntary or local authority run provisions. So they like to either become managers, or some of them in the past have actually set up their own settings. There's quite a few of our students who do go on to progress. Instead of doing the PGCE, they go on to progress at master's level. And this course will provide a very secure foundation for either of those routes, if they're the two that you would like to go down. Now, the course, it's got 7 modules attached to it, and these reflect the different skills and understandings pretty much of the multidisciplinary approaches. So I'm going to talk you through those now. So in year 1, the modules that you'll be covering, year 1 is the equivalent to a level 4 certificate, and the modules is early years provision and curricula. So we look at what we do here in the UK and what's being done on an international scale. We will have academic discussions such as why do they do that there, and why do we do that here? What can we learn? So we're constantly throughout the course trying to develop our own practice all the time. There's also a module called Developing Academic Literacy. This particular module helps you with your academic writing. So it's how to write essays, how to give presentations. And this is fantastic for a range of reasons. We'll have some students who maybe are 19, they just completed A-levels or they're level 3. And then I will have some students who could perhaps be in their 50s or 60s. They're coming to the course with a very, very diverse range of academic writing skills. So this particular module has been tailored to support students at whatever level you are at. So if you are worried about, am I ready for, university style writing, we will again support you with that. The third module that you'll do is Early Learning and Development, which is a very a lovely module, actually. Introduces things such as theories that we cover and generalised how children learn. We've then got Learning Through Play, practice-based learning, which is a work placement module. So for this one, there will be a portfolio attached. And I do believe that that is a mandatory module as well. And then we've got Understanding Self and Communicating with Others. So again, this is a key skill with this module that will help support you in whatever profession you go into. So it could be working with children, working with parents, how to talk to people in a very empathetic manner, etc. In year 2, which is the equivalent of a level 5 certificate, we've got Creating Inclusive Practice, which is focus. I don't want to just say on special needs because it's not. It does look at special needs, but it also looks at additional needs. So for example, how can we support children who have got and parents who have got EAL? How can we provide that inclusive environment for children? The next module that you'll do is Language and Development in Early Years. This is about how children develop linguistic skills. And again, it's underpinned by the theory behind that. We've then got another mandatory module. So this is a Safeguarding and Children's Welfare. The next module that you'll be doing is Research Methodology and Method. So this is a new module, very, very exciting. It's going to teach you about how to make a start on your dissertation. So it's an exciting module because you get to choose a topic that you feel is really exciting to you. So we don't say this is what you're going to do, write your dissertation on or your research proposal. So this particular module is going to be very, very tailored to students' individual interests. We've got Play and Active Learning in Early Years. Again, this is a work-based module. So again, it has got a portfolio attached to it and also a work placement visit. So you'll plan an activity and then we'll come and observe you. And then the final module for level 5 is Health Promotion. This particular module looks at children's and adults' health. Now, the reason that we do that is because as practitioners, our responsibility isn't just with the children, it's also with the adults. So it could be parents, other practitioners, and it looks at the range of health aspects that we need to be aware of. The final year, which is year 3, that's the equivalent to a level 6 certificate. We will be covering leadership and development. So here we look at what it means to be part of a team. We look at the theory that underpins leadership. And it's a wonderful module if you are looking at getting into those positions where you are managing a setting. We've got the Sociology of Childhood, which covers lots of interesting aspects such as modernism, postmodernism, what happened historically, what we do now. And that also covers some action research. So you'll be able to go out and conduct some research there. The next module that you'll be doing is you'll see it's a 40 credit module. So this module you do in semester 1 and semester 2, and this will be the final dissertation module. Again, it can be about anything that you're interested in as long as it's within the early years domain. We've got Professional Practice and Pedagogy, which is your work placement module for the 3rd year. And then the final module we do is Perspectives on Quality Education and Care. So again, we do look at this on an international basis. Now, like I said, many of my students, they go on to lots and lots of different career courses, and the course has been designed to support you if you would like to go down any of these routes. And I say any of these, it's not just limited to these either. So many of our students have gone on to become early years teachers. We offer the opportunities to give information, and to support you to become an education consultant or a family support worker, health or play specialists, learning mentors, play therapists, primary school teachers. So just to reiterate again, our course provides a very, very secure sort of foundation if you're looking to go on to do your PGCE. We've had lots of students who have gone on to become special educational needs coordinators, and they can be done on a various levels. That can be within the setting, or it can be for the local authority as well. We've got students who work in special educational needs schools, so they go on to become SEN teachers. Some have gone on to become social workers, teaching assistants, and even youth workers as well. So I'm now going to pass over to Zainab, who is our current level 6 student. She is due to complete in the next few weeks, but I'd just like to pass you over to her just so she can share some experience of what it's like to be a Croydon University student. Thank you, Zainab.
Thank you, Lisa. Hello, everybody. My name is Zainab Mohammed. I'm studying level 6, year 3 in early childhood study. I used to work at nursery from between 2 to 4 years old children, and during that time, I really wanted to have more understanding of children's behavior, to know how to deal with challenging behavior sometimes. For me, going into reading about early childhood studies course, I found out that course really designed to offer a deep understanding of children's behavior, children's needs, and we study about policies and legislations, and it helps you to actually use theory into practice, and it gave me a more understanding of how to deal with children, how to understand their behavior, how to understand and deal with challenging behavior, especially. Doing this course will allow me to develop my professional and skills to work with children from 0 to 8 years old. And it's open, when I finish my next steps, it will open opportunities and door for me. Like, for example, for me, I wanted to get into teach more adult childcare courses. So this is my next steps. Regarding to our lectures, they always there. They are very welcoming. They actually try to help us in any way they can. And the building are friendly, disabled friendly. It's designed to disabled can access and use the facilities. We have a fantastic facilities, as Lisa and Mimi mentioned. We have cafeteria for hot and cold food, which is excellent. And the library, of course, it's very good and big library that we can use. And it's just a great course for anyone who wanted to have a deep understanding of how to deal and work with children. And it's really a great course for me. So that's really, I wanted to say.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Zaina, thank you so much for that. It's always lovely to hear from our students. Zaina is in her final 4 or 5 weeks of this course, which has been sometimes felt probably like it's never going to end, because it's really hard work. And we're very pleased with Zaina. She's done really well on the course, and she's used all the opportunities, for asking for help and support. Like she said, we're very much tailored towards the individual at Croydon University Centre in terms of, if you have a need or you're not quite sure where to go, do come to us to ask us for help, and we're always happy to support as far as we are able to do so. Zaina, thank you so much for contributing. If there's anybody who's attending today that's got any questions for Zaina, any sort of top tips from Zaina, anything that you want to ask, please feel free to put it in the Q&A or in the chat if you'd like to. Zainab briefly touched there on students with disabilities. We support a great many students with either a learning difficulty, for instance, dyslexia, through to more complex disabilities and ongoing health conditions. And we have a really good additional learning support team who will be able to meet with you. But we can only help you if you've declared it to us. So if you don't come and talk to us, we don't know you have a a condition or a disability, then come and talk to us and we'll be able to provide you with some tailored support if we're able to. Zaina, thank you so much. Lisa, are you going to take us back to a bit of a session?
So I thought about what we could create for a mini lecture here, and I thought child development would be a fantastic starting point. Now, this lecture, what I have done, it's got a mixture of level 4, level 5 and level 6 content. So just to give you a little bit of a taster as to what we cover at which level. So to start with, child development. When we're looking at child development, it's really important to understand what we mean by these terms, because many of the terms, they're going to be very multifaceted, so they're complex to define. So the development refers primarily to the changes or patterns of changes which occur during one's lifespan. In light of that definition, what we can then elaborate on is, therefore, child development would relate to the changes which occur during childhood. Now, when we're talking about childhood, we need to remember childhood is very, very complex in its concept itself. It can be applied from conception to early adulthood, but in some cases, it can actually extend even further. So, for example, in the Special Educational Needs and Disability Code of Practice, childhood is actually defined as 0 to 25 years of age. So, although this is an early years course, much of what we do study, you will see, covers children around about 0 to 8, but it depends on the module, because like I said, with SENs, it can be 0 to 25. Now, childhood, looking at it as a historical context. Aries studied childhood by using different, he looked at different forms of art in order to try to perceive how childhood was seen historically. One of the arguments that Aries put forward was that children were seen as being very miniature adults. And he looked at medieval art, and he concluded, well, when you look at the art that's presented, the children are seen as adults reduced to miniature size without difference in expression or features. Now, here's some example of childhood through the ages. So we've got, you can see in the first image, 2 children who look to be dressed much, much older than what they would be. And again, for the middle picture. And then the final picture here shows a baby who seems very, very mature. Now, when we're looking at these particular images and when you're viewing historical childhood, you can see that actually childhood wasn't necessarily seen as that romanticized period where children should be protected, where they're vulnerable, the way that we perceive them today. Now, when we're thinking about the different perspectives on childhood, however, we're looking at a very westernized approach. And this has got some advantages and some disadvantages here. So some of the disadvantages would be that actually development is seen as linear, i.e. children progress through different stages. You know, we expect them to do certain things at a certain age, and then once they've acquired those skills, they can then progress on to the next stage. Now, some examples here, because I want to link it to practice as well. Some examples here is parents do it. We do it ourselves. Any of you that have got children, we're constantly looking out for those milestones. And this is a term that GPs will use. And well, when they get to about, the age of 9 to 12 months, they should be taking their first steps. We're constantly trying to assess them and put them into these little almost brackets of, well, at this age, they're expected to. And anybody who has got experience of working in early years settings will know that the early years foundation stage, which is the statutory curriculum which we need to be able to implement, obviously, they did that in that as well. So the EYFS, in case you hadn't known about it, that's the curriculum that nurseries, preschools and reception classes and childminders need to follow it and implement. Now, in there, it's divided into 2 documents. So the first half is all of the rules and regulations and legislations, everything that we need to abide by. The second half is called Development Matters. And for anybody who hasn't seen it, I'll show you a clip in a moment. But what it did do is the curriculum actually broke down what children was expected to do by what particular age. Now, again, during our lectures, what we will do, we won't just do links to practice, but we'll also do links to theory. So in the EYFS and in this perception of child development that children must, they learn through specific stages, that's very much based on a gentleman called Piaget and his stages of development theory. So Piaget is one of the key theorists for early years and for children's learning in general, actually. He will underpin many of your assignments. Now, he had a very cognitive-based approach, and what he said is that during specific ages, children should be expected to acquire specific skills. Now, examples here of Piaget's periods of cognitive development is that between the ages of 0 to 2, children are in what he called a sensomotory stage. This is where they use their senses and they learn things through touch, smell. I mean, if you think about, I don't know, a child of 7, 8, 9 months, very much everything's in the mouth, they're tasting everything. He also said that by this age, children should learn about object permanence. And we can link this to practice. Object permanence is when children realise that if something's out of sight, it still exists. Now, again, one thing that we do like to try and do is to critique what we're reading, to critique the theories and our practice. Now, I worked in a nursery in a preschool for 7, 8 years. I would argue that actually, no, not all 2-year-olds do know about object permanence, because once mummy and daddy have left them with Lisa, they don't necessarily know that mummy and daddy are coming back. However, that's just an example of a critique from practice. Piaget went on to say that children aged 2 to 6, they're going through what he called the pre-operational stage. So they're beginning to develop the symbolic thinking, cognitive processes. They're starting to learn about the use of language. And they're starting to think about that egocentric thinking as well and develop that. Now, one of the ways that we can see this in practice is they start really to show their imaginative skills. They're growing, not just physically, but also they're using their experience to build new knowledge. And he says here that the child decenters slightly, so they're moving away from that it's all about me position almost. At 7 to 11, this is what Piaget called the concrete operational period. This is where children are able to develop logical thinking processes. So they have objective or rational interpretations of things. In practice, this can be seen through conservation, numbers, ideas, and classifications as well. So they're able to start grouping things based on different characteristics. And then he went on to say at the age of 12 years old to adulthood, this is the formal operational period. This is where individuals are able to think on an abstract level. So they come up with hypothetical ideas. They also develop different skills such as morals, ethics, politics, social issues are being explored as well. So although we critique what we say, we will always link the theory into practice as well, and you'll be able to see this in your work placement. Now, somebody who agrees that children do learn through different stages but approach it in a very, very different way is Maria Montessori. The Montessori approach has been heavily embedded in many settings. You can get Montessori-specific approach settings. And Montessori incorporated these by saying that, yes, children do develop through a series of stages. However, instead of looking at, similar to Piaget did, what Montessori went on to say is that actually there's 4 different stages, and they are infancy, which is defined as birth to 6. Childhood, which is 6 to 12, adolescence, which is 12 to 18, and a transition to adulthood, which is 18 to 24. Now, it's interesting here, if we go think back to the slides where I showed you of the images of the children in the paintings. Well, looking at that, defining childhood, 6 to 12, some of them children was much younger. And our whole sort of ideology of childhood has really, really shifted. So Montessori, like I said, takes a slightly different approach. Another theory that underpins much of what we do is Bruno. Now, Bruno's scaffolding theory, again, still shows stages, but this is looking very much as what's called a social approach. So it's looking at social interaction, and rather than saying, well, children naturally develop or biologically develop through different stages, Bruno argued that the environment has got a lot of influence on children's development. And when we're talking about the environment, we don't just mean in their physical surroundings. It can mean the parents' input, the teachers, the practitioners, anybody who is in that child's life has got some sort of impact on their levels of development. So again, it's a different perspective. Bruno called this the scaffolding theory. This has now been embedded into the EYFS, which we'll talk about in a moment. But within this theory, what Bruno was saying is that individuals develop through active help from their teachers or their parents. And the more that they develop, the more independent they become. According to this particular theory, children are dependent on those who have more knowledge or competency than they do in certain areas. So for example, it could be linked to reading or calculating square roots, not that we expect that from our early years children. However, it's here where the learning begins. So the first stage is when we do something for the child. So we're role modeling, we're demonstrating, we're using that social learning theory where children will be able to observe and imitate. We can then move up a level, which is where instead of doing it for them, actually, we're just offering a little bit of assistance and a bit of support and help. But throughout that, the role of the adult is all about modelling, making sure that we are conscious of what we're doing and what we're saying, and we're using language-rich environments for children so they're able to see what we do, start to do it for themselves, understand why they need to be able to do it. And then the next step will be prompting as well. And then the final stage here is self-scaffolding. So as you can see here, less help from the adult, the child is more dependent, and more help from the adult, the child is less dependent here. So I did mention some words, and I'm trying to drop in some terminology which we do cover on the course, so critiquing. Now, when we're looking at child development, and the theories relating to that, where children develop through stages, it's heavily critiqued. So for example, if we imagine if you work in an early years setting and you're a key person for 9 children, those 9 children, each of them are going to have very, very different experiences and very different childhoods. When we're looking at what we're reading at university level, we're not just accepting it. We want our students to have the knowledge and the courage to challenge it and to think, well, why do they think, why are they saying that? What's going on? And we also encourage you to reflect on your own practice. Now, one of the principles of the EYFS, the early years curriculum, is actually, it's called the unique child principle. And it talks about how it's so important to remember that children are unique, that children do have differences and similarities, and these need to be celebrated. However, the terminology that they also use is that children develop at their own rates. And it's quite funny because when we look at the old EYFS, which I'll show you in a moment, it's quite hypocritical to a degree, because there was a chart in there saying, well, children should by this age be able to. So it's a little bit of an oxymoron going on there. However, the EYFS has stressed here the uniqueness of children, and the development matters, although it was used for practitioners to assess development and to observe and monitor development, it has been said that it should be used loosely, because some children, they will get to a specific skill, or they will develop those skills, but they might do it quicker or a little bit slower than other children, and we need to be mindful of that as well. And we need to remember in our practice that this affects the observation, assessment and planning cycle as well. Now, Just in case you haven't seen it, I know this is a very blurred version, but this is an example of what the Early Years Foundation stage curriculum used to be like. So we had a prime area, this one is communication and language, and it would say birth to 6 months or 6 to 12 months, and then it would have a series of those milestones that I spoke about. And what it does do is it tries to encourage practitioners to be aware of, well, when the children are around about this age, this is what they should be doing. But like I did say, that stages and ages process has been heavily criticised. Now, anybody that is in practice today, i.e. you're already working in a setting or a nursery, you may be aware, or you may not, that there is a new curriculum coming in September of this year. This new curriculum, it has moved away from that notion of children developing stages, and it's now applied a much broader approach towards child development. There is no reason for assessment to replace professional judgment. So, for example, children make progress unevenly. And this is in agreement with the critiques of the theories that we were speaking about. So it's heavily sort of emphasising, no, children do not learn certain skills by the age of 1, by the age of 2, by the age of 3. They develop very, very unevenly. There could be a period, for example, of no progress, which may actually be an important time for children to consolidate and to repeat what they already know and what they can do. It does not make sense to expect every child to make regular steps of progress according to a particular schedule. Now, this wording was taken from the new EYFS, and it really does show not just how we're perceiving childhood as being very different now, because under the old EYFS, it was very much about this is what practitioners need to do, and practitioners need to create a learning environment and set up the activities. It's moved away from that, and it's showing that children now, actually, they're a lot more resilient and independent than what we may give them credit for. Let the children choose what they want to do. Let the assessments be child-led, and the observations, get down with children and play with them. So we can see in this light that actually child development and childhood is changing even today. Now, this is an image from the new Development Matters, so from the new curriculum, and we can see here that it talks about 3 and 4-year-olds. Now, anybody who knew the old EYFS, it was divided into months. So now it's looking at sort of age, but within a year. And it speaks about how development, for example, communication, may have problems in irregular tenses, and it gives examples, so it's much more detailed and related to practice. And one of the reasons that they changed their age bracketing and the way that the EYFS perceived child development is because many children, for example, those with EAL, was being misdiagnosed as having a speech delay or a special educational need, and actually that was not the case. The case was they was trying to acquire 2 different languages, and it just took them a little longer. So one of the rationales behind this change with the child development is we need as practitioners to give children more time to be able to develop the skills. We cannot expect them to have them by specific ages.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Lisa, for taking the time to be here today as well. I know you have a lot of marking to do. It's this is always crunch time for our students, as Zaina would have said as well. She's 4 or 5 weeks from graduating. I just like to reiterate, studying at a higher education and degree level especially is a very serious undertaking. You need to make sure that it's the right course for you. Where do I want to end up? And I've touched on that before. Lisa's beautifully highlighted what the course is about, the specific modules you'll be studying, and how we can support you. But I think the important thing to remember is that the onus is on you, the student, to do the reading. It's all about reading, do your research, come prepared to the lessons, submit your work on time. If you need help and support with the assignments, there is your academic tutors that you can go to for support, but it is ultimately up to you how successful you will be on the course. So do think about that as well. Many of our students are mature students. We have a lot of younger students coming in now as well, but especially for our mature students, they have their own children or caring responsibilities, plus working, plus doing this course at the same time. So there's a lot of things you need to juggle at the same time, but this is absolutely a fantastic course, this early childhood studies course, if you're interested in working with 0 to kind of 8 years, those early years, fundamental developmental stages with children. So if you are interested in this and you haven't applied yet, you can do so on our website. We also have an interactive session. I think that starts at 2:00 this afternoon. Yes, I think I'm correct, Chloe. And Chloe, if you can put that link in the chat, please, for students, if they're interested in hearing about how to apply. There'll be somebody from admissions there. I'll be there. There'll be somebody from Student Services, the Additional Learning Support team, as well as a member from our finance team. So if you're not quite sure how to, yes, you want to apply for the course, but you're not sure how you're going to pay for it, do come and ask us a few questions. We'll be able to give you more advice and guidance about that. Similarly, if you have a learning difficulty, disability, there'll be a breakout room should you need to go into a breakout room for a confidential chat to one of our support team members. But from us, I'm really pleased to see you here today. The link is there for the advice and support drop-in session this afternoon. Do come along, do come and see what it's about. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. I want to say a great big thank you to Zaina as well, our final year student, who took time off to be here this morning. Zaina, thank you so much. I know you're very busy with your final assignments.
You're welcome.
And good luck with those postgrad application forms. And, we can provide you with references, which is lovely. Lisa's just put her email address in the chat as well. If you have any course-specific inquiries or any questions about the course specifically, Lisa is our program leader. She's been leading this course for a number of years now. She's very experienced in her field. Her email is lisa.fitches@croydon.ac.uk. If you're not sure about the spelling, it's in our chat today there. So I'm going to actually leave it there. If there's no questions from anybody, anything else, then I'm going to say thank you very much. And if you're interested in our other interactive sessions, we'll be running some more sessions tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So do come to those if you're not quite sure yet about what course you want to come and study with us. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for your time. Thank you, and goodbye.
Thank you.